Hi everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna. I am an acrylic artist. Thank you so much for stopping into my studio today. I hope you're going to paint with me. We're going to be painting a fun little beginner project. I think those of you who really want to get into acrylic painting but are a little bit scared to do it, I think this will be a great beginner project for you. Let's take a look at it. There we go. This is it. I've titled this one Springtime. Now this is on a surface from my website, lonnalamb.com, and you can grab this surface there. It is my tavern signs, large tavern sign. And I think that you will find that this painting is very easy, very beginner friendly, and you're going to enjoy doing it. Isn't it so cute? You can paint it on any surface that you want. I've used DecoArt Americana paints for this, and you can really change up the colors in this. I picked a very simple background for this, and you can paint your background any color you want. You can paint your bird any color that you want, your flower any color you want. My recommendations are guidelines. If you don't know what to do, then paint it like I am painting it. But I think you're going to have a really, really fun time painting this one. It's going to be just a breeze to paint. So if you are ready, let's grab our paints and our supplies and let's get painting. All right, I've got my surface here. We're going to get ready to get it prepped and base coated. I am going to be applying a coat of multi-purpose sealer onto it. So I'm going to pour some of that out onto my palette here. And I'm going to use my damp 2-inch foam roller to apply it. Just give it a nice coat. This is going to seal it, keep the paint from soaking in, and make the paint adhere. I have a little bit too much moisture in my brush, so I'm going to squeeze. Oh yeah, a lot too much moisture. I'm just going to squeeze that out into a paper towel. And then go back here and smooth this out. I shouldn't have all that bubbly stuff in there. If you ever get bubble stuff in your when you're rolling on either paint or multi-purpose sealer, or if you roll on a finish, a varnish with a roller, and you get bubbles, you've got too much moisture in your roller. And I just flung water on it right there. Get some of that water out of it. The color I want to base coat it with is Purple Petal. It's going to be a fun spring design, playful. So I'm going to put that out. I can use this same roller. I don't even have to wait for that to dry if I don't want to. I'm going to load it up. I normally do wait for it to dry, but today I'm just going to go for it and get it on here. So I'll want to apply 2 coats of this. So I'll get this coat on and let it dry, and then apply a second coat. And I'll have to decide if this is going to be too dark. When it starts drying, I might want to mix some white in with it and make it lighter. Maybe not. Seems to be a pretty color. So gently roll and smooth it out. That'll take down some of that texture and get the paint nice and smooth so it will dry. Alright, I'm going to get it dry and apply a second coat, and then we'll get back to it. Alright, mine is dry. Now, I did change the color because that other purple was just too dark. This is what I originally put on there, which is pretty close to this color it looks like, but I ended up using this color with a little bit of white. So the background would be a little lighter because this dried a little darker than what I wanted. So I used Wisteria instead of Purple Petal and added a little bit of white to it, and then just take a paper bag and sand, and that will smooth out the texture. If you have any from painting it with a roller, which I highly recommend because it puts the paint on so smoothly and so quickly. Alright, so now we need to get our line drawing on. Okay, so here is my rough line drawing that I made onto some tracing paper. And I'm just going to center it as best I can on here, and then hold it down with a couple pieces of tape on one side. And then I will slide my gray graphite underneath here. I'm also going to have a ruler. And let me get my stylus. And I'm just going to trace over the lines. Right now I'm not going to worry about the flower. We'll add that in later. I mean, I might change the whole shape of that flower. Who knows? So we're going to get basic elements in here. Well, I might just leave the flower. I haven't decided. Tough decision here. And then you'll want your stem to come all the way over to the side because I'm kind of centering this. I did not do that, so when I paint it in, I will take it all the way across. Okay, then we'll put our leaves. You know, I might change some of this up when I do it. Actually, that leaf didn't need to be drawn in yet, so I'll have to erase it because we'll have this box here that we need to draw in. So I'm going to grab a thinner tipped stylus for this so I can stay right along the edge. Hopefully I have this on here straight. Put this line on. Okay, I'm not going to put the words in yet because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do to the box yet, but I will go ahead and put this flower on, I guess. And then I'll just erase the line that I put through there. And these other little flowers I'm not going to put on because they're just little filler flowers and I'm not really sure where they're going to go. So I'll erase that line. And I missed a line here. Came from. Maybe when I laid my ruler down I got a little heavy-handed there. So that looks pretty good. I am liking that so far. And of course I design on camera, so this could change up in very different ways as it is painted. So, and this line drawing could change because of it. So that's why I always draw it in pencil. Because if I make any changes to my painting as I work on it, then I can just come and erase those lines and trace it right off of my painting here. Alright, let's get ready to start painting. Alrighty, let's get painting here. I want this to be fun spring colors, so I am going to be using some brighter colors in this design. Palette spritzed with water. Okay, so on my bird here I am going to base the body of the bird moon yellow, and I might mix a little bit of bright yellow in it just to brighten the color a little bit. So I'm going to put some moon yellow out, and that looks super thick. And some bright yellow beside it. And I'm just going to brush mix this and paint it in our bird. Let's see, I've got a 12 flat here. Let's see if that can get the job done. So, where that moon yellow is pretty thick. So I'm just brush mixing them together. Some of that moisture out, a little bit more of the moon yellow. Bright yellow is not opaque, but the moon yellow is, so adding that in. So it's probably about 2 moon yellows to 1 bright yellow, so it looks pretty bright because that bright yellow is bright, because moon yellow is not this bright. And we'll be doing 2 coats of everything, so I'll just show you the first coats, and I'll go off camera and do the second coats. And let's see if we can okay, that's pretty bright. It's going to be fun and playful. Alright, let me get my stopper, keep that from spinning. We're going to paint the tail feather Indian turquoise. I didn't get any of my paint shook up before I started, so. And that's very thick too. I might have to add some moisture into some of those. Alright. Indian turquoise. Once you apply your second coat on here, that purple will go out of it. Oh, I just stuck it in yellow. We don't want yellow. Because the purple, you know, kind of. See if I can find me a different bottle of Indian turquoise, maybe a different bottle of moon yellow. They're both so thick. Probably been sitting on my shelf too long. Okay, Indian turquoise. Alright, we're going to paint the wing. I think I'm going to paint it green tree. I don't know how opaque this is. And you don't need to put out near as much paint as what I have been putting out. You just need small amounts. So I'm going to try not to paint over my graphite lines, and I can come in and erase them, and any gaps that is left from erasing when I put my second coat on, then I can paint over that. But I'm going to try not to paint over the lines. Alright, let's paint our beak in. I'm going to get a smaller brush here. See if I can find a round one that'll work for me. I'm going to paint the beak in with pumpkin spice. It's a pretty color. Fairly new one to the line. Oh, kind of wild hair on this brush. I might have to cut that wild hair off. Now you can see I'm not, I am painting over the lines here, so I have to make sure I get enough coverage on that to cover up those pencil lines. Alright, now our flower up here, I think I'm going to paint it in white. do some fun stuff to all of this. It's not going to stay just simple. I'm going to add some fun, different styles onto this stuff. I think it's going to make it really, really fun. Take your time with your base coats. There's no need to rush. This is the foundation for the entire painting, so we want to make sure that it... I might bring this side out a little bit more. Okay, and the only other thing I'm going to paint in for now is the tree branch. We're going to paint it in with cocoa. Now I'm going to bring it all the way, well, maybe not. I don't know yet, because I might want to do a border on the sides. So I might not paint that in yet, because I'm not sure if I want to do a border yet, and we can paint it in later. Okay, I'm going to get this dry. I'm going to erase my graphite lines on my bird and apply my second coats. And maybe by then I'll have figured out what I'm going to paint this end down here, and if I'm going to do a border. Okay, I've been debating what color to paint in this sign. So I want it to look like an old kind of weathered piece of wood, but I don't want it to be the exact same color that we're going to paint our branch. So I'm going to take my white and add it to my cocoa and lighten my cocoa up. And just mix a lighter version of the cocoa. I would say that's probably 2 white to 1 cocoa. Or it could be the other way around. I mean, depending on color that you like. And I'm just going to use an artist sponge. I've taped it off with just Scotch tape, and I'm just going to use an artist sponge and put in a couple of coats on this sign, and then we can start working on our bird. I'll show you the first coat here. When I'm ready to pull the tape off, I'll come back on camera after I get my second coat on. Makeup sponges are not absorbent, so don't put tons of paint on there, and just straight up and down tapping, you'll fill in this area very, very, very quickly. Okay, I'm finishing up my second coat here, and so I'm just going to pull the tape off. A nice clean edge. Love using Scotch tape on our projects, and we will age up and weather that as we paint it. So now that I've got that painted, I think I can go ahead and paint in the branch, which I'm going to use just straight cocoa for. And then we can, I've got 2 leaves that are going to come over this sign, so I think the leaves we will just wait for a little bit. I still don't know if I'm going to put a border around this, so for now I'm just going to loosely end the back of this kind of roughly, and that way if I want to come in and add, there won't be a hard line there. And we'll try to work the color values in the branch and the sign down here to be different values so they are not looking the same. So I'll be putting some grays and stuff in that down there because I really want it to look weathered and aged. And we can make some little branches coming off of this in some places. I'm going to wait to do that until we develop it a little bit more. So I'm just going to get the second coat on that when it dries, and then we're going to be ready to start having some fun on here. Alrighty, I want to draw an eye on here, just a circle for the eye. You can use a circle template if you have a circle template to draw the eye on. So I've got this one here, but there are many circle templates that you can use. And I think I'm going to put the eye here. I can't see that, so I'm going to grab a pencil. I could just go ahead and stencil the eye in right here. I want to make it look like a button. Grab my makeup sponge. Let's see, what color do we want to put the eye in? I think I want to use a purple. So I'm going to use a lavender. It's a darker purple. I'm going to see if I got a small piece of makeup sponge, since I'm painting in a small area. I keep my makeup sponges till they're nothing. I just cut off the part that I had paint on and reuse them until they're completely done. That might be a little dark. Well, I think we'll go with it. We could add a little white to it. I don't want it to become too light. I want it to stay a little darker, so you could add just a tiny bit of white to it. Okay. All right, there's the beginnings of the eye right there. I think that's going to be pretty good. Okay, I want to put some dots on my bird here. And I don't want them all to be the same size. I'm going to use some styluses, but I don't know if I can get varying dots like I want on here, or if they're all going to end up being roughly the same. I do have some larger dotting tools. You can use the ends of paintbrushes. Most of them will make a bigger dot. That one didn't make a very big one, so it depends on the paintbrush really. This one's got more of a flat base, so it might make a bigger dot on here, which I would like. So I'm going to put some bigger dots on here and some smaller dots. And these will take a little while to dry. Now I'm going to add some smaller ones on here. So I'm just going to grab a different paintbrush that has a smaller end on it and add some smaller dots, or a stylus, either one. But I want my dots to be white. I don't want them to be a different color. So we'll get these on here because they'll take a little while to dry. Put as few or as little as you would like on here. I think that'll do it. That will do that. So I'm going to go down and work on the sign down here while that dries, so I can hopefully stay out of that right there. Okay, down here on the board I've got Cocoa, Burnt Umber, lamp black and white that I'm going to use on it. I want to first add a little bit of gray stuff to it, so I'm just going to take my flat brush here and get a little bit of black and some white. I'm going to have to put more white out because I know I'm going to need a lot more than that. I'm going to mix a gray value here. It's kind of a medium gray value. And I'm just going to come along the edge here and do some wiggling and create some texture along the edge of the board. So that's kind of making that edge look pretty old. It's a pretty easy process, just wiggling the brush back and forth, and we'll go up and clean up that edge. So I want to try and stay out of my dots up there. So I'm do the same thing down here. A little bit of a wiggle. Alright, we're going to take some of this through the sign. A little bit more black in there. Just on the chisel edge, I only have paint on the corner here. So we'll just create some little areas that we can come in. I mean, you can do this with a round brush or a liner brush as well. We want to make the straight edge look a little bit rough as well. Don't want the sign to be perfect. I want it to be fun. Undo this edge, make sure I stay out of my white dots. Mix up a little bit more on my brush. I like to brush mix because it gives me a little bit more variance in colors and stuff, and not everything is exactly the same. I'm not looking for exactly the same, so I'm going to add a few thin lines on here, and we'll let this dry. We have more to do to it, but that's getting us a little start here. So maybe add some, we won't see a lot of this once we put our words on here. Just make some really interesting wood grain type stuff. It's just the same color, only thinned down, that medium to dark gray, depending on how you mixed your paint. I don't have a whole lot of paint on my brush here. So that's got a lot of wood stuff, wood looking stuff started here. So a little bit of some lines coming off of the edge here. And don't worry, we're going to clean up this edge with some shading and stuff so that it's not looking like a straight line there. Okay, I think I can go up and work on my wing. For the wing, I'm actually going to make it look like a leaf. So we're gonna, oh, that's a lot of paint. We didn't need near that much, but we got it. We're gonna make it look like a leaf. So we're going to shade it and everything like we would a leaf. So I'm gonna side load some leaf green. I've got enough here to probably do 5 birds or more. Come along the bottom, need more water. Grab my mop brush. Clean that up a little bit. Okay, I'll let that dry before we do any more. On our tail feathers, we're going to add some peacock teal. Move this up, see if I can get a camera shot. Peacock teal. Side load for a float. And we're going to put this at the base. And we want to create some lines coming down the tail feather so we can draw some in. And then we'll put some of this on here. I might want to go to a small angle brush here. So I'll go to a 1/4 inch angle brush and load that toe. And then I think we'll go on the right side of all of our lines. Trying to make sure I'm not getting on any wet white dots here. And we'll just start creating our little tail feathers there. So we can start our shading on our beak. We can't shade on the body yet until we get those dots completely dry. Okay, this is Georgia clay. And we're going to put it along here, along the back of the beak and along the bottom. So these are all just our first shadings of color. On the branch here, I can put a little bit of burnt umber. Just to start with. We'll probably end up putting some, I'm going to make this kind of dark through here. Because I really want to be on this side of it. And then before I do much more to this branch, I'm going to really have to decide if I'm going to do any kind of border on this. I think, oh my gosh, I have teal paint everywhere. I'm not sure where that came from. I don't see it on me. Got a little bit on this hand. I guess it was on this thumb when I went to spin it. I have to be careful removing this because it could lift my purple paint here. I'm just going to leave it on that fence, on that sign. That's not going to hurt anything. But these other areas, I don't really want this teal out here. I'm not 100% sure how that happened. Okay, where were we? Shading on the branch. Okay, so back to my conversation here. I'm not sure yet about a border. I think I'm going to do one, some kind of border, but I've got to get it figured out because I can't really do too much more to this branch, add smaller branches and stuff coming off of it until I decide what I'm going to do for my border part. Okay, I am going to do a border. So I've marked off 1 inch. So now I'm going to come in, let's see, 1/2 inch maybe. So mark off 1 inch and then mark off 1/2 inch. You can just measure it with a ruler and do it that way. I just had my compass handy, so I thought I'd do it this way. So that's going to help our branch in there, and then this leaf will come over the border here. I've got an idea of what I want to do with that border. So I think I'll just leave it there for now. I pretty much know what I want to do with it, but for now I think I'm going to just leave it. I kind of want this eye to look like a button. Not sure I can get that effect on there, but we're going to give it a shot. So I'm just going to add that other little circle in there. Alright, I want to repeat all of my shadings here on the wing. Now I know I can put some other branches on this limb now. So I want to bring this up. This would be like the base of the leaf right here. Grab my mop brush and just tap and gently smooth that out. Okay. We'll go do our tail feathers, and we'll need that smaller brush. I'm going to repeat down here, and then a little bit through here. I'm not going all the way to the tip with the second pass. I mean, you can, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to leave it a little bit more shallow up there. And then our beak. Now we can add some like burnt umber to our colors to make them a little bit darker. I may do that in a few places here. Our dots are just about dry, so we can start shading on the body of our bird. But let's see about shading on the button eye. So I'm going to take my purple, and I think I'll get a tiny bit of black in there. That's my lavender with a little bit of black. And I'm going to go inside this circle right here. To start with, you want to make the kind of buttony look, so let's see how that's going to work out. I think our dots are dry enough that we can start shading on the body. Get our first shading on there with some antique gold. I think I'll go to an angle brush. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch. Start here. Go around our wing. Stop right about there. We're going to go around our flower. And you can go to a smaller brush here, these tighter areas. I just grabbed a little drop of water and blended into my paint. It was a little dry. Go around the eye, not all the way, just the lower part, and a little bit in the front here. And then we'll do a little bit where the beak is next to the body. Try to narrow that down a little bit with the water edge of the brush. And I do want to come up the back just a little bit here. Make this part dark or shaded, and a little bit right there. So we're getting some nice shading on our bird now. That's helping him look so much better. Okay, I drew my lines in for my leaf veins on the wing, so we're going to shade on those, and we're going to go on the right side if you're looking directly at it, but it would actually, if it was a leaf, it would be the lower side of the vein. So we're going to shade a little bit right next to those lines. We'll do the outside veins first, and then we'll go down and do the center one. Okay, I'll make sure our paint is dry here. I'm going to go along this edge of the center one. Go along the other edge of it and leave a tiny little gap in there for our center vein. We're going to let this dry because we need to erase the pencil lines that we drew in there. So we'll let that dry. I think he's gonna be so cute. So you probably can't see, but I drew some little lines in for my flower petals. Let me come in and just lightly do it with a pencil. Trying to decide what color we're going to shade at the center of this flower. So I'm trying to decide what color I want to put in the center of it. Right now I'm thinking I want to put some peacock teal in it or some purple. I think I'm going to go with the peacock teal, and I'm going to stay with this this 1/4 inch angle brush and side load a little bit on here. I want quite a bit of water in my brush with this so that it really waters it down and keeps it a nice sheer color. And we're going to go at the base of each petal. My mop brush before that dries. Mop that. And we're going to create some light turquoise in here. It's just at the base of each petal here. I'm not worried about the center area. We're going to be putting some stuff in the center of this flower. I mean, if you want to fill in here while you're painting, that's perfectly fine. If it's, you know, distracting for you to have that open area there, then go ahead and fill that center in. So that will get us a little start here. Go up that side a little bit because that one is behind. We can start creating our, which ones are on top? Look. Okay, so that's just the first little color there for our flowers. Okay, I put 2 little dots, just drew 2 little dots right there. So I'm going to put some yellow where these dots are. I think yellow will look nice. And we'll highlight on that later. I can erase off of here now. And get those lines off. Brush away from your paint. I'm going to go ahead and deepen the float because everything's got 2 shading floats except for the body of the bird. And so I want to darken back here. Oops. It's going to be dark. And then right through here. A little bit in here. These are the dark, shadowy areas. And I think I'll switch over to my 1/4 inch to do around the flower. I don't really want to come back in and add like any burnt umber or anything to this paint to make it darker because I want to keep these kind of bright colors and fun and springy and playful and just completely different than anything else I have ever completely done. The one place where I do want to darken is right here at the base of this tail. So we're going to take some of our peacock teal and I'll see if burnt umber will darken it enough to not turn it into a weird color. Get a little bit darker right there. And I could take some of this in here. I do need to darken at the back here a little bit. Okay. All right, that looks a little bit better. Okay, that looks just a touch better there. I like that. All right, we're ready to highlight on the wing now. And I'm going to highlight with citron green. So put a little bit of that out. Make sure I don't have any paint on my hands, so as I'm turning it, I'm not leaving paint everywhere. So citron green. Okay, so we want to go along this edge. This is a very bright color. So we'll do along that edge first. I'm going to go down the center vein and in the open areas, but I have to let that dry first. So we start with the citron there and then work our way out. For the tail feathers, I'm going to mix Indian turquoise and white together. Add our first highlight on there. Okay, so I'm going to take my Indian turquoise, that's a lot, and some white. So let's do 2 whites and 1 Indian turquoise to get that lighter color. And we'll see if this is going to be light enough to put on our tail. Going in between all those lines that we put on there. And starting to create a little bit of highlight on there. We'll definitely have to brighten that, but that gets us a good start. Wing is dry enough now. We're going to add some of this color in here in between our vein sections. And we can do a little bit over here, even though this is a shaded side, we can have just a little bit going on here. Brighten that up. You could even put some of that peacock teal in there. We might do that here in a minute. I think I'm going to darken while I'm waiting for that to dry in the center of my flowers with another just washy float here of our peacock teal. Get down in the center if you want. We're going to be adding some dots and stuff in there, so that'll all be covered up. So just a second, wick a little layer in there. And let's go to our tail feather, and we're going to go with Snow White and brighten mostly out here on the end. It's looking pretty good. Let's put a little highlight on the eye here. First I'm going to add a little tiny highlight on our yellow. Just a tiny little highlight. And then I'm going to take that white that's on my brush here and grab a little bit of lavender. Create a lighter purple. So it was about an equal mix, and we'll just add a little highlight here and through there. And I think I'll take that purple and add a tiny little bit of black to it. And with this round brush, I'm just going to line that area a little bit. Make that button look a little bit more raised. Okay. We can make some little threads coming off of that too if you want, but let's wait till we get our bird done. Okay, another quick little highlight on the eye, and I'm just going to use Snow White. Stuck my hand in the paint. Not good. Okay, there we go. We can brighten up the little dots here as well. And if we want to bring threads off of that, we certainly can. Okay, let's move back to our leaf here. I want to brighten the highlight. I'm going to try and do it by applying a second coat of the citron. If not, we'll mix a little bit of white into it, which I probably will do. So we'll just repeat the citron to begin with, and then we'll put some blue in there. I really feel like my tail feather needs a little bit more, maybe the peacock teal. I think I might mix peacock teal and Indian together and equal. That's a lot of paint in my brush. Actually, we'll do 2 peacock teals and 1 Indian. And let's just give this wash over everything but the tip of the tail feather. I'm going to take some more white and brighten that, but I'm going to do it with my detail liner. How about we work on the beak? So let's take our bright yellow and a little bit of white so it will be a little more opaque. And we'll put it on the top of the beak. And down here on this edge, just a little bit. I just take the water edge and very gently blend that. Okay, so that was an equal mix of bright yellow and Snow White. Let's add some highlight on the body now. So we're going to do the same mix that we did over here, which is bright yellow and white. An equal mix. And we're going to highlight right here. And I might walk that in a little bit. Go up here on the top or on the front of the bird, in front of the eye. We'll put just a little bit right here. think that's the only places I'm going to put it for now. He's looking super cute. Okay, I'm going to go back to the wing. So I'm going to take that citron and mix some white with it. So we'll do an equal mix here. Actually, 2 citron, 1 white, I think will work best. Yeah, we'll have to wash over it with some more citron because that white is just kind of taking the citron down a little bit. So while it's drying, let's put our center vein in, which is leaf green and citron mixed together. See if this will show up. We might have to go a little bit more of the citron. And I think we'll have to add some white in there. 2 citron, 1 white, and 1 to 2 leaf green, depending on how it looks. We're going to have to add another citron. So 1, 3, and 2. Alright, so it was 3 citron, 1 snow white, 2 leaf green, and we'll repeat that with the citron and white mix. We'll take our, well actually before I put that center vein down the center, I'm going to create a wash of citron. It's a very transparent color, so just load my brush with water and then dip into my citron and make a little, like almost glaze of this color. And we need that bright highlight on there, but we want this yellow to be in here. This yellow green to be our more prominent color. Okay, I really think I'm going to put some teal into that as well. So let's take our white, actually, let's mix some citron with that. And just an equal mix of them. And we'll go down this vein. Just down the center of it. And we'll do a little bit on each side. A drop of water here. On the opposite side that we shaded on our veins. Just in the center, just a little bit. Not too much there. And we can do a final bright little highlight in the middle with just white. Okay, well I have this white with my liner brush. I'm going to go out here and add a bright highlight. The white needs to come down farther. Definitely need water. Okay, just a little bright white highlight there and there and there, and just out in there as well. We want to do, actually I'm going to repeat on the beak here before I add a little bright highlight of white, just white. If yours looks, oops, pretty good, you don't have to repeat. Just repeat that, and then a little slice of white. on both of those beaks. Give it that bright little highlight. Alright, let's see if we can do something with this flower real quick. I'm going to take my peacock teal and thin it down with some water. And add some little lines in here. Just a couple, don't have to do a lot. Touch them back with your finger if you feel like they're way too bright. Just a few in there. Okay, we're going to dot the centers of the flower and then maybe separate the petals a little bit more with a little bit stronger peacock teal. I think I might add a tiny bit of peacock teal on there, but I want to lighten my highlight. That was bright yellow and white. We did an equal mix, so I'm going to add a second little bit of white. If yours are bright enough, you don't have to do that. You can just keep it the equal mix there. Okay, he's looking so cute. So cute. All right, let's finish the flower up here. Then we can go down and work on the fence and the branch. Actually, before I do that, let me see if I can take a little bit of peacock teal. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, and add it into our wing. We'll just add a little bit on this lower edge. I don't know that it's even going to show up. With that leaf green has a blue tint to it, so it may not even show up. But you can put a little bit of peacock teal in there if you want to. Okay? Alright, let's finish the flower. Alright, I'm going to darken just in a couple places with the peacock teal. Might add just a tiny bit of burnt umber into there. That will darken that peacock teal just a little bit, like right here. Add a little bit of water to my brush here. I can thin that paint just a little bit. Let's see, I think this one is under that one, so we'll try and make that edge a little bit lighter. Go next to this one here. And then I think this one here is underneath. And we can just pull a little bit of this, pat a little bit of it at the base. I don't want them to get overly dark. I'm really wanting them to stay light. Okay, we're going to highlight on the outside edges with white. They're already white, but I want them to be whiter. But we're going to start putting some dots in the center here. I want to put some dots with, let's see, what colors do I want to use here? I think we'll do some yellow dots. See if my yellow paint is going to work here. I might want to do antique gold. They'll be a little bit darker. So let's start with some antique gold ones. I'm going to grab my stylus. You can do this with a paintbrush. You don't have to use the back of a paintbrush or a stylus, you know, or whatever. Just use whatever you have that works for you. Okay, so we'll just put a bunch of yellow ones in there for now. That's antique gold. Okay. So just dot the centers with some antique gold, however you would like to dot it. Okay, while those dots are drying, let's go down here to our wood. And I'm going to take my burnt umber and some black. I can get it out. Definitely need to put some fresh paint out here. Okay, I think I might want to add a little bit of white to that. Make it this brownish gray color. And we're going to go over some of this stuff, darken it. You don't have to go over the whole thing, just here and there. We're going to wash some black over this here in a minute and get it some really dark stuff going on. You can mix the same color we did before and repeat and get it a little bit darker. Because I don't want to do the leaves until we know what we're doing here. So let's work on the branch. Take some burnt umber and a tiny little bit of black. Mostly burnt umber. Smallest amount of lamp black. Grab some water. And we'll just put this along the bottom. All the way up. Okay, we'll put a little bit here next to the tail because it's probably putting a little bit of a shadow here. Maybe a little bit right in that little valley there. Okay, we are going to bring some other branches off of it, but I want to finish the sign first because I want some to come over the sign. Okay. All right, let's go back up to the flower center. I'm going to put a few burnt umber ones in here. Okay, we have to let those dry and we'll add some white ones in there. I think while they dry, we might go ahead and just put some white on the outside edges of these petals to make sure they've got a nice clean edge. And I may make some folds on a couple of these. I think that will help the flower look a little bit better. So we'll just pick a couple of petals to make some turned edges on. I want to make sure we can tell which petal is on top here. So we kind of have to define those with a little bit of white. Okay, so we'll let that dry and I'm going to figure out where I want my turned edges to be. So let's go back down to the sign down here. Okay, I'm going to take my burnt umber and a little bit of black. This is like making a soft black color. Work some water in there with it, touch my paper towel, and then we're going to go out here and work this edge. And that's getting really dark. A little bit more water to lighten it up. edge got way too straight. I don't like that, so I'm going to come from the opposite side. I probably should go with my smaller brush here. I don't think that big one's going to work out for me. And I'm going to grab some black because I want to create a rough edge here. The look of a rough edge, I guess I should say, because we made a straight line over here. Not really sure that helped, but not super sure that helps. So I think in my pattern I may just reshape that and make the edges more jagged so that we automatically have that look. Okay, so I'm going to take some white. Ooh, that's a lot of white. And burnt umber. Maybe into gold. More white. I'm going to start creating some highlight color in here, and that's not light enough. Yep, that's not light enough. We're going to just have to go straight white here. So straight white. I'm going to start creating some highlights. Just side-loaded, just skipping across. Now you can make your wood any way that you want. If you have a way that you like to do wood, by all means do it that way. I'm going to be washing over this with some burnt umber and black here in a minute. Darken it up just a little bit. And we'll add a few other bright highlights on here. Just a little scumble and scrub and make it look worn. Worn and worn out. Okay, let's go up here to our flower center. I want to shade around the center of the flower with a little bit of that burnt umber and a tiny bit of peacock teal. It's going to help set all of these. Give it a little bit of depth in there. Let's put some white dots in there. And then we'll let that dry and do a couple of turned edges. Alright, I got a couple of folds that I've drawn in here. I'm going to mix Indian turquoise and peacock teal together, an equal mix. Get it a nice blend, and just a small amount on the tip of your brush. And we're going to go underneath here, take the water edge and smooth it out. And create one here. Touch it back with my finger. I don't want it to be incredibly dark. This is a very sheer float here. Not straight paint by any means, so don't get it super bright. We'll highlight with our white right next to that, so that'll make that look a little more turned. And we may go out on the outer edge, because that's what I usually do, and put a little bit of that color we put underneath. We'll put a little bit out here. This will give it a little bit more of a shadow. And I'm going to get a little bit more paint, and just in a couple places we'll just push a little bit of paint in there to darken maybe that's the highest point where it's folded and it's higher away from the petal. Don't fill in the whole thing, just a little will do ya. Okay? Alright, so then you can determine if you want to add a little bit more of that peacock teal down here, just to darken a little bit. Right through here. Make that center look more pushed down in there. And that helps a little bit. And any of your highlight edges on your flower that you want to repeat, you can certainly do that. And put another layer of white on there. That will probably help quite a bit because the white tends to fade down in there. Okay. That looks pretty good for the flower. I think that'll finish that flower right there. Okay, we want to get our words transferred on here, and then we're going to base coat in our leaves. I might just tell you what color to base coat them in now, and I'll go off camera and do them. I think I'm going to base coat them in with leaf green. I'm going to make these some dark leaves. So we'll just go ahead and do these three right here, because I've got to finish out the words on the sign before I can finish all of my leaves, because some are coming over and I want to put a couple more branches on here. So before we do that, let's get our letters transferred. I've got my letters on here. I think I'm going to paint them in with yellow, just so I can bring that yellow down a little bit. So I'm going to use Moon Yellow. Now, painting in letters is easy. It is a pressure and release of the brush bristles. Okay, so in wider areas, you're going to want to give a little bit of pressure, and in areas that aren't as wide, you know, the thin ones, you're going to be up on the very tip of the brush. So you're going to want to have a brush that will allow you to do that. So one that will like flatten out into a flat, because this one, see how it flattens out into a flat brush, but it also bounces back to a round brush. Okay, so then on these more narrow areas, I'm going to be up on the very tip of the brush. Now you can switch over to a detail liner and do this. Do these thinner areas. You have to have a little bit of water in your brush. The paint needs to be thinned down to inky consistency, so if you don't have it thinned down, it's not going to flow. Don't overload your brush. Pressure coming up on the tip and release right there at the end of that. Okay, here we go. Pressure, follow the shape, pressure, release, release, release. Come up on the tip of the brush and add your thin lines. Okay, we got a thin line here. Got this loopy loop here as part of the R. I'm going to have to make that loopy loop thing a little bit bigger so it looks like an R maybe. Alright, we're going to go some pressure here, pressure, release up on the tippy toe. And we'll probably put some other colors on here, on this yellow, so it's not just yellow. I'm thinking maybe some of that orange. Pressure. I don't want to go off of the board, so I'm going to shorten my G here. Should raise the words up a little bit. A little more water in my paint. Fresh paint is going to be the best thing when you're lettering. And don't overload your brush. Wipe some out. Make sure you transfer your lines well enough so that you can see them. And I did mine with white graphite, but you could use gray. Gray would be alright. It's just that gray is a little bit harder to cover up if you're going to use lighter colors. So you don't want to have to worry about trying to cover up graphite lines when you're doing lettering. You know, generally you want to try and stay inside the graphite line. So that is going to have to dry. I'm going to put a second coat of yellow on there, and I think we'll do some fun little stuff to it. I pretty much know what I want to do out here on the border. I think it's going to be fun. This is a very, very whimsical piece, so I'm going to let my lettering dry and go ahead and apply a second coat off camera. Your thinner lines you may not have to go over unless they are not very opaque, but your wider areas you'll probably have to give a second coat to. Okay, I think I'm going to do antique gold at the bottom. I didn't like the orange when I put it on there. So stay up on the tippy toe here, and we're just going to put it up just a little ways up each letter. And we'll do a little bit of a drop shadow, I think, on here. We'll probably do this antique gold a couple times, and maybe some white or some bright yellow along the top. Okay, so that's one coat of antique gold. I'm going to do a second coat on here. I'm just using my 1/4 inch angle brush, just keeping it tight on that toe so I can be up on the tippy toe when I need to be, and a little more flatter when I need to be. A little bit of water. Oh, a lot of water. You can just make your letters a solid color if you want, if that's easiest for you. If you've got a favorite stencil that you want to stencil in here, you can do that as well. That's 2 coats of antique gold. That looks pretty good. Let's take some, get some fresh bright yellow out. Let's do some bright yellow, maybe some white. I think we'll do bright yellow and white mixed together like we did up on the bird. So 1 bright yellow, place to blend here. And we'll go with 2 whites. Probably need fresh white. And we'll go along the top. Now you can do this with a round brush and just pull streaky stuff down. I'll show you how to do it with a round brush. It might be a little bit easier doing it with a round brush. So 1 bright yellow, 2 white, give it a little water to thin it, and then we can just drag it down. Be irregular with it. Don't keep everything the same. Oops. Need to mix a little more. 1 yellow, 2 whites, a little bit of water. I might have a little bit more white in it than the other. You can do the color on the bottom the same way and just kind of streak it up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Springtime. I'll probably do a little white highlight on top of it too. I think I will repeat with the antique gold using this round brush. Just give it a little pull. So just a couple times will do it, but there's a couple places that I kind of missed and I want to touch them up, so doing it with a round brush, much easier. And then we're going to brighten on the top with just some white. So I'm just going to grab some white and we'll just do a little bit of white on here. Too much water in my brush. Just at the tips, don't pull it down too far. We're keeping this at the very top, tippy top. Okay, so I think I want to do a drop shadow on my lettering just because I think it needs to pop a little more. So I think I will do that maybe with the black. Okay, I've chosen a color for a drop shadow, peacock teal. Didn't think I was going to like it, but I do. It makes it look a little more spring-like. So we're going to go on the left side of everything. You can go on the right if that's much easier for you. So when you're doing a drop shadow, generally where one stops, that off there. So like this one stopped here, the one that's on the outside here will stop across from it, okay? That probably will help you see things a little bit better. And it's still a pressure and release. You're going to have a fatter shadow on the fat parts of the letters and a much narrow line on the ones that are more narrow. Makes sense? I'm just staying on the left sides. Anything that would be, that you would be able to see on the left. Okay. Got that G a little wobbly. See if I can straighten that up, and then I think we're pretty good. Well, I'll come from this side because I keep following the same route that I took. Okay. I am just going to leave it there. The G doesn't look the best, but we're going to go with it. Okay, wide angle out. All right, we need to finish up our branch here. That's not going to take too many steps. I might add a little bit more white on top of my lettering because I feel like it needs to be brightened just a little bit more. Stay on my blue. Just at the very tippy tops of things. You know how white is, it tends to fade in there. Got some yellow in there. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now you could outline it with black. I started to do black, it was too harsh. I started to do purple, just didn't quite go, although, you know, they're kind of close to complementary colors there. So I ended up just doing the teal, but you can do any color that is within the palette, and I'm sure it will look just fine. Okay, I'm going to add just a few black lines in this wood. It really just needs to have some darkening up. And just kind of put them wherever around your lettering. You can do it before your lettering so that you're not trying to work around things. Just some very thin lines throughout. It's just too light of a color, and maybe I should have washed a little more black over it, I think. I think this is really going to help it a lot. That float of black that I put on there just was not dark enough. Okay. And maybe just a few of white or cocoa. I'll just go with white because the color of this board is kind of weird. Just drag a little white on there. Alright, that'll give that a little bit better look there. But I think I'm definitely going to change the pattern up to be a irregular edged board. I feel like it definitely needs more brown in it. I feel like it completely lost its brown because I was worried about it being the same color as the branch. So this is burnt umber. Don't get it on your letters. Of course, you'll be doing all this before you put the letters in. So that will help. And a smaller brush would probably help as well. You know, if you're doing it like I'm doing it. Which is not the best way to be doing it. Okay, I think that helped a little bit. Alright, so in my instructions I put in there that you have the option to do the drop shadow, whatever color you want. Lavender, Georgia clay, black, the peacock teal. So whatever color that you like, I would go with that color. Okay, I was getting ready to paint my leaves, but I forgot this one comes over this thing over here. So what I'm going to do is take a moment to paint those border things in. So I'm going to tape off with some Scotch tape. least this part of the leaf. And I'll tape over here. And I already can tell I do not have my sign centered. I've got more room on the other side than I do on this side, so that does not look straight. Something doesn't look straight here. Alright, that looks better. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a makeup sponge. I'm going to paint these two borders in with lavender. Couple of coats, and then we're going to do some stenciling on them, or maybe just some fun stuff. I don't know. At this point I have absolutely no idea, but I know I want the purple because I want to carry that purple from the eye out this way. Alright, let me do this side over here. Remember, makeup sponges are not super absorbent, so don't grab tons of paint. It's best to do a little bit at a time and then repeat. You know, even if you have to repeat a third time, it's best to do a small amount at a time. So I'm going to let that dry for a moment before I apply a second coat. I'm going to get that second coat on, then I'll come back and see how we're going to finish those out. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. This is kind of what I thought about doing originally. So I just cut the end off of my sponge that I just used. I was thinking about doing buffalo check along here. Originally, only I was going to do black and white, but now I think I'll do a different color. I'm going to do white. And we'll see how this looks. Fingers crossed, it even looks like decent. And then we can also outline the edge of this if we want to. So straight up and down pouncing. And of course we'll have to do it twice. So I'm going to go off camera and get this dry and repeat it, and then we'll come back, do this side, and I'll go ahead and do this side, and then we'll come back and take the tape off and see how it looks. Okay, as you can see, I did not do the buffalo check. It did not look good because it was just one row of checks. It did not look good at all. So I just wiped it off because it was wet, and repainted a fresh coat of purple, and then just use a skewer, the small end of the skewer. These might be chopsticks, some cheap chopsticks I got at a restaurant or something. I think that's what this might be because it's dull on that end. And I just did random size dots all along there. I still might line each side of it with white. I haven't decided that yet. But definitely looks much better than that buffalo check looked. So I'm going to quickly dry these. It was just dotting just like we did up here, only did a lot more. And where you can just see like half of a dot, that's where I let it go over the tape part way so that, you know, it would look a little more random. Okay, I completely forgot to start the recording. So I taped off on that side and created a narrow border, and now I'm painting the one on this side to to see if I could get it even remotely close, sort of. But it takes 2 coats, so you have to go over it twice. That is the thing. So taping it off, even though it's a very narrow strip to tape off, is probably way easier than painting this line in. Or if you have a fine tip paint pen, you could probably put a ruler up here and just paint it in with a paint pen. So there we go. That's our borders. I like it. It makes it look so much better. Brings that purple in there a little bit more. So I'm going to go off camera and get all my leaves painted in now. Alright, while our leaves are drying here, let's go ahead and finish up our branch. So let's grab our yellow, moon yellow. I think that's what I wanted to do. Let's see. Moon yellow. Moon yellow, and let's go with some antique gold. And we got white out. I'm hoping this will highlight on this branch okay. So let me grab my small angle here. And I'm going to mix these two to get a light yellow color, or you know, a medium kind of yellow color. 2 moon yellow, 1 antique gold. We'll see how that looks. And we're just going to put it along the branch in just a few places. It doesn't have to be every place. Maybe I got a little highlight there. So just a couple of places. All right. I think while I have this brush out, I'm going to go ahead and put the burnt umber along the bottom one more time. It looks like it could be just a tad darker. Get some of that moisture out of my brush. Alright. We'll make this edge a little better. Right underneath our bird, this all can be pretty dark. Especially right here. I put the feet on the bird yet. Go back to this edge and work it all the way up to the end. And we don't have to give that branch a lot of detail because it's just a fun little branch. It's not, it's just a branch that's holding this sign, and the bird just happened to land on it. So I'm going to go with my white and a little bit of moon yellow, and we'll just add a little bit of scumbly little highlight on here. And I think we'll call that branch done. You can go in here and add as much detail to it as you want. You can add some lines in it to give it that wood look. But this is just a playful, whimsical little thing, so I don't want to do all that. Okay, just wanted to get it dark right there where it goes underneath that. Alright, let's add some shading on our leaves. Alright, this is coming along, looking super cute. Let's work on our leaves. We're going to shade at the base of our leaves. We've just got a couple more things to do. I'm still undecided if I want to put welcome up there. Welcome springtime. So I'm still thinking about that. Let's my mind just went completely dead. Okay, we're shading on our leaves. Here we go. Leaf green and a little bit of black to make that a dark green. Just take a tiny bit of black at a time so you don't get too much. And we're going to shade at the base of these leaves. And you can come up one side or the other, it doesn't matter. I'm not really sure which is the shaded side on this. I've kind of got my shading and highlighting a little bit of every place, so this side just a little bit. I want to fill the whole leaf, so don't let it fill in. I've got something on my brush. Wipe that out and reload here. Green, a little bit of black. Just make a dark green. Right at the base of each leaf, and then pick a side, just bring a little bit out. Okay, do this one. And I've got two here. Drop of water there. And I've got this one. A tiny bit more black in there. And then this one here. Okay, those look pretty good. With our shading, we may not have to repeat that shading. We'll just have to see. Generally, it kind of works its way down into the paint, and you need to repeat at least at the base to get it a little bit darker there. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Okay. I think I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and do at the base of the leaves one more time. Just at the base, not up the side like we did. Just want to darken at the base just a little bit. That one's pretty dark, but I want to put a little bit more on some of these. That one's pretty dark there too. So just a small little coat there. All right, let's add some highlights on here, and I'm going to try the green tree because we only used it on this leaf so far. So let's see how it looks on these leaves. It's not a color I've used on leaves before, so we're going to see how it works out. I might have to add some of that citron on here and brighten them and make them a little more springy. Get my mop brush there. I just want them to be different from this leaf, so I think this is going to work out good. So I'm just putting it at the tips and down a little bit down the opposite side. Then I put some shading on. Okay, we'll definitely repeat this, not as much as we're doing, not as big an area. As you apply your more coats of a shading or highlighting, you want it to get smaller with each layer so that it doesn't, it gives more values that way. Okay, a couple more. This one we'll just get it at the tip. Smooth that out. And we've got this one here. Okay, that looks pretty good, but let's go again and we'll do even less. I don't want to spend a lot of time on these leaves because they're not obviously the focal point, and they don't need tons of detail, just like the branch doesn't need tons of detail. It's just a little accent. So these leaves are like a little accent as well. Okay. That looks pretty good. So the only other thing we're going to do these leaves is add a vein in there and bring it into the branch. I'm going to take my detail liner and take that green and a little bit of black and make that dark green color. Probably a little bit more black in it than I had in for the other. And we're going to pull a vein and just connect it to our branch. Wherever you want to connect it, and then I just soften out the end so it blurs into the branch. More over here, and we'll take a look at it and see if it needs an extra highlight on the leaves. I think it could use a little pop of white. So let me thin some white here. Okay, so we'll just put a little, well, maybe not. Paint doesn't want to come off. Still doesn't want to come off. If I get too much water though, this white paint is going to just completely disappear. So let's just put a little white highlight on a little spot of your leaf. You pick somewhere in the highlight area. Would probably work best. And see, that one already looks like it's faded. Faded away. All right, we need to connect something to hold the sign. So we're going to do that with, what color we're going to do it with? Let's see, what color do I need to bring into this a little bit more? Maybe our orange, because we haven't put much orange in there. Not sure I'll like the orange being the wire hanger. Let's see what color. Let's see. Not really sure what color I want to use here. All right, let me just try the orange and see how it works. Now, you can make it look like a chain, you can make it look like a rope, you can make it look like a ribbon, really whatever you want to do. I'm just going to have it go over the branch and come back here and maybe be a knot here or a bow, whatever, you know, that you like. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to like this orange, so let me give it a shot. Over the branch, back behind the branch, and behind the wood. That's not too bad. So we're going to do this one here. Come over the branch. And then come behind the branch and down to the wood. Well, that's not too bad, that orange. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to make this one a little bit wider. Maybe. I keep picking up tons of paint there. Yeah, make this back one here a little bit wider. And make sure it's not on the branch in the front there. We still got to add the feet for our bird, or he can not have any feet. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to wipe out my brush and grab some black and just make a little loop here like it's going through. Okay, just a little hole there. And then you can add a little highlight on it with some white. And then I need to erase my graphite lines that I put on here. And let's see about some feet. Okay, if you want a little bit more realistic detail on this, which that is definitely going to be a personal preference, you can add a little bit of a shadow, maybe, if I can get the paint to right there on the board, on the branch next to your thing. If my brain could function, I'd tell you what I'm thinking. So right here, you can put a little tiny bit of black, make it a little bit of a shadow. Instead of that piece just kind of looking like it's not making much sense, we need a little bit of a shadow there. And then right here where it comes behind, you can have a little bit. And right here. You can just use a small round or a detail brush to do that as well. Don't feel like you have to use that big brush that I was using. Let me get my graphite lines off of here. Brush away, brush away. Okay, this is looking pretty cute. I am loving how it's turning out. So I need to make a decision about welcome up here, springtime, and then about the feet. The feet, let's see my pattern. I did draw some feet on there, but I'm not sure that I want to put them on. Since it's facing that direction, I don't know. I would have another one here. If that would look right or not. So maybe we'll just leave the feet off. I'll just take it off the line drawing. Because I'm not really liking that. Feet on there. Let's just say he's just sitting there. We can't see his feet because his wing is hanging down too low. Let's just call it that. How's that? But if you want to add feet, if that kind of bothers you that you can't see the feet of the bird, then you can add those on there. Alright, sat back and looked at it for a moment, and this yellow is very bright, this yellow is not. So I am just putting a quick little coat of our bright yellow because it is a transparent paint. I'm putting it on the yellow, oh, not the blue, on the yellow areas. It's going to make those yellow areas, see how much already it's popping out here. So I'm just going to add a nice light coat on the yellow. It's not going to take down that antique gold at all. It's just going to make the yellow pop and look bright. So this is very transparent, so just stay off of your blue so it doesn't turn green. And there you go. That looks better. I might apply a second layer when it gets dry, but that definitely spruces it up. So, you know, before you add your white on top, you could go over it with the yellow. I think I'll put it in the instructions that way. Before we add the white on top, we'll just glaze, you know, well, we're not glazing, we're actually just painting it on this bright yellow right over all of the yellow, and then we'll put the white on top. Okay, so this is what it would look like if we put the word welcome up there, which I kind of like. And this is just my tracing paper. I wrote the word on here with the black Identa pen because that was the color I was thinking about putting it in with. We have used some black down here, but we might have to go down here and add just a touch more black to this sign. I could take the Identa pen and work some of that in. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I traced these letters on and then realized they weren't straight over here. But I think it will, I know which lines I need to use over here. So let's just write this in with an Identa pen. And then I can erase those other lines off of there. And I think this one will probably be done. This one was a little bit of a longer process for me because I had no idea where I was going with it. Other than the line drawing, I didn't know the colors, the style, what I was going to do with it. But I think overall it came out pretty good. So let's erase these, make sure my ink is dry here. And then it will be ready to varnish and put a hanger on it. There we go. Just getting all that graphite off of there. I think it turned out super, super cute. I would like more brown tones down here now that I've painted it, so I would probably, the next time I do it, not do the brown tones, or the gray tones, and maybe do more brown tones. I don't know. I didn't want the branch and the sign to look the same, and they don't look the same, so I guess I accomplished my goal there. But this has been a fun project. I hope you guys have enjoyed painting this one. Let me know if you like it. Leave some comments, some feedback, thumbs up. Please like and share, and please subscribe. I appreciate you all, and I need your support to keep this channel going. So I need you to subscribe and make some comments and some likes on here. So I enjoy doing this, and I absolutely love, love, love how this turned out. So another couple more pencil lines there that I didn't get erased. Alright, I think I am going to call this one a done project. This one is titled Springtime. Hope you guys paint it and choose whatever colors you want. Make it fun and whimsical just like I did here. And have a great, great time with it, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.